finally made it here at Bannock State Park in the boonies. I looked and it looked like a gravel road, but thankfully this is a little bit paved, but we're taking this road into the ghost town, and there's supposed to be a graveyard up ahead somewhere. We'll go check that out too. But this was a pretty long drive on some very windy, crazy highways and going through many small towns and things. Very interesting. It's a very scenic drive though. So here we are entering the park. What's interesting is that there is nothing for miles, and I don't know where these people came from the 1800s to come settle here. It's kind of crazy. That's a long ways from wherever they came from to come to Bannock to make this little town work. Pretty amazing. There's like a little lake over there, so there is a water source. And there's many points of interest on this small dirt road if you want to stop. They have a place where they used to mine and all that stuff. You can stop off on this dirt road before actually entering the park. But we're going to just go straight to the park and see the actual town. So we finally made it to the parking lot. This is the parking lot area. Lots of parking, and you have to check into the visitor center. They charge out-of-state cars a $8 fee, but if you have Montana plates, it's free, but I guess we'll just be honest because we're not from here. I'm not sure if they're going to ask for any registration papers, but that's part of the park, and you can just walk through and take a look at all the log cabins. So this is the first house we are at, and it begins and goes down there. And I guess you could loop back and go on the other side of the road and explore. And what's neat about this park is you can actually enter into the ones that are unlocked and see what it looks like inside. So the first house is the Turner house, and it was owned by the Turner family. But after the early 1900s, it served as many other things, such as the post office of the town and a barbershop. So we'll take a look inside the Turner house. This is one of the buildings you can enter in. And if you can see how old this wood is, it's curling, and the beams, pretty neat. Old lock. Definitely smells of wood. There's a lot of mold in here. Lots of damage. Even the ceiling is leaking. And that's a creaky board. I have no clue what that was. Here's an old door. And glass windows. Here's an old bookshelf. There's a lot of rooms in here. It looked like a small house from outside, but it's pretty big. Yeah, I don't know if it's a dining room or a desk. There's an old stool. I'm not quite sure what that is. Just leads to the other side of that. Maybe it was like a changing room or something, because it's got nails on the top. Looks like you could hang your coat or something on it. Here's more shelves. I don't know if you know what this is. Is it like a vent or a chimney? But I don't see anything on the bottom for a fireplace. But what are these little circular things in each room? Looks like a chimney above. Do you put coal in there on the top to warm it up? I'm not sure. But yeah, this is pretty much the whole Turner house. Pretty big house from the inside. From the outside it looks pretty small, but it's got many rooms. So this is the Assay Office. I don't know if you can see in there, but it looks like it was once a store, and it did say it was a butcher shop, but in the beginning it was an office used to analyze mineral specimens brought from the miners for its gold and silver content. But after that, it became a stagecoach station and a butcher shop. The next building is the city drugstore. So this used to be the pharmacy. It was also a general store, and also was used as a school when the regular school was in disrepair. The first telephone was installed in this building in 1889. I just wanted to show the logs and how they make these old log houses and how it actually stood the test of time, even though it's kind of falling apart. But this is pretty sturdy to keep it caulked together. And look how old these nails are right there. So this, unfortunately, is also a locked building. You can only go into the ones that are unlocked. Hopefully you can see inside what was in there. Some of these things are the original things. We'll try to go to the other side of the window and see what's in there. Here's some old kettles, it looks like, in this drugstore. A wagon wheel. Even though it was a drugstore, it looks like a lot of tools for horseshoes and farming. So this is the famous Hotel Meade. It actually was one of the first brick buildings built in 1875 in Montana. And it served actually as a courthouse in the beginning. And then as the town kind of dwindled away, somebody bought this courthouse building and made it a hotel. And it's supposedly haunted. The story is the owner's daughter went behind that area. I don't know if you can see right there. There's supposed to be a creek, and she drowned. So some people say they can feel cold air in certain rooms. This is one of the ones you can walk in, and so we'll take a look. If you can see these staircase beams and the architecture and the old brick. And some of the original tiles in here. There's like a random room. Don't know what that is. Very tiny, almost like a closet. And it's got like some mechanism on the door. Very interesting, almost like a safe, maybe. It's got a grand staircase going upstairs. We'll go up there later, but just explore the bottom. It's like an old furnace or an old kitchen. Yeah, this is like an old kitchen. I'm sure many meals upstairs were prepared here for hotel guests. It's like an old flat top and an old vent. So this is the back stairs. There's 2 stairways, so I guess we'll exit out the front. There's looks like a child's room. Not sure if it was the child that had passed away and drowned in the creek, but it does look like it belongs to a little girl. We're not allowed to come in here, it's locked, but there are some very old things in here. Rocking chair, old clothes. Here's an old furnace in the room. And we'll just go upstairs. So this is the upstairs of the hotel. And when it was a courtroom, I'm just wondering, that's a lot of offices that they have. Right here. A lot of the rafters are starting to show. But I guess it was a good idea to make it a hotel, since there's so many rooms. Here's a furnace in this one, but they're pretty much all the same and the same size. So yeah, that's the upstairs. Had a couple more rooms that all kind of look the same. And then we're going down the front staircase. And there's these nice trimmings on the each stairwell. Very nice and old-fashioned. I like the beams. So that's the hotel mead. So I had to switch to my phone because my battery's dying in my camera, but this is the saloon. And just a side note before we go into the saloon, I didn't really get any creepy vibes from the hotel mead. A lot of people say they feel cold spots or whatever, but it is creepy in the way that it's old and the story and everything, but no, didn't feel anything bad in there. So this is the saloon, Skinner's Saloon. It's built by a man named Cyrus Skinner. And it's a popular gathering place for everyone in the town. I like how they kept this original bar stand. Look at all the detail, and imagine the hard work. I'm sure making it by hand back in the day, since they didn't have any machinery to do such things. You can go behind the bar. It's pretty skinny from behind because you can see the hole to the other side. It's not very thick at all. But I guess this is where they would put all the alcohol on the shelf. Nothing fancy. And there's looks like a sink, something. Mirror. Not sure what these are. Old piano. If you could only imagine the chit-chat and chattering, music playing, lots of people having a good time back in the 1800s. It's not too big of a place though, so I don't know how many people would be able to fit in here. This is a old looking piano. I don't know much about pianos, but it's an M. Schultz. So not sure if that's the original piano that was supposed to be in here or if it's a prop. So on the walls of the saloon there's a little bit of history about the man who owned it, Cyrus Skinner. I guess he was hanged on January 25th, 1864, I heard many things about many people in the town of Bannock being hanged. I guess the purpose was there wasn't enough space in the jail, which is supposed to be super small. Hopefully we can go into the jail. But instead of placing everybody in jail, they just hung them. Kind of not so nice, but here's an interesting barber chair too. I don't know why it's in the saloon. You can see the old inscription of the brand on the footrest. So this is the one outhouse they had. I'm assuming there's no other outhouses in the cabins we saw. So I guess that's just one outhouse for the whole town. That must suck. I hear some fluttering in here, so I'm gonna get out of here. Sounds like a hornet's nest or something. But yeah, that's pretty much the outhouse. So this is the Rowe's grave house. It belonged to Mr. Rowe, who became one of the first rich men in Bannock due to the mining, but I'm not going to show the inside of the house. They're pretty much all the same. But I've noticed this old school pipe gutter that runs up to the roof, which is interesting for this age and time when this house was built. Here's an old wagon. The wheels are all rusted off and broken, but I'm assuming it's the original wagons used in the town back in the day. Over here are a bunch of old tools that were used for the miners. And that big chain, look at how huge that is. To show you how huge it is, I'll put my hand next to it. It's a big, big chain. But they have samples of all the things they used to use. I like how there's a lot of original stuff, including this little trolley that the miners would use. Very interesting. It's on the tracks too. Alright, I'm out of breath, but this is the cemetery. I'm not going to walk too much because it's very steep and rocky, and I don't think it's worth it with my son because it just drops off over there. But they actually have the cemetery over there. We had to hike all the way up this hill. But over there, not sure if I can zoom in, if it'll be clear. If you see that thing, let's see. Will my finger get it? It's right there, that square thing. That's the gallows where they would hang everyone. So it was a pretty harsh life here. There's supposed to be a cemetery outside of Bannock when you enter, but I didn't see it. Maybe when we leave, I'll be able to find it. Really interested in that one. It's a little bit more current, where you can read the stones, whereas the ones behind me, you can't really read any of the markers. They're pretty much so old and dilapidated, you can't see anything, which is why I don't think it's worth going up there. All right, we'll go back down, and not going to go through every house, but we'll go through all the notable ones. This is the Methodist Church of the town. It was the only place of worship in Bannock. Still standing here today. I don't believe you can enter this building. I'm not sure, but we'll try. Well, I was wrong. You can enter here. So this is all the original chairs. Very, very old school. Looks very uncomfortable. Has a very musty old smell in here. Just that musty wood smell. There's the pulpit. Looks like a small little piano organ thing over here. Yeah, it's an organ because it's got these the pull-outs here. And if you were the preacher, this is what you would see. This is the Xavier Renoir cabin, and he was from Canada, per the book, and they just wanted to show off the fine craftsmanship of Canadian loggers and how his house was different from the other log cabins. He had the nice shingles on the outside, and I find that really interesting with the minimal tools they had in those times, how you could build something very nice like this. Unfortunately, we're not allowed inside. This cabin is locked. Not sure if we can see what's in there. Yeah, nothing much. It's like storage. This is the Bassett house. Nothing special about this one, except they did mention how hard it was to live here. And with all the diseases such as scarlet fever, etc., a lot of kids died. So this is known as the Crying Baby House, and it's haunted per the book that we got, the pamphlet. And supposedly people can hear crying of babies and kids in this house. There's the upstairs. I don't really want to go up there. It's kind of creaky. It's a pretty big house though. Some of the original tiling. I will say these houses do keep you cool. It's 90 degrees again outside, and when you enter these houses, it's nice and cool. This is the inside of the mining house. It's the office for all the mining operations that were in this town. It closed in the 60s. It's got some creepy, I wouldn't say it's graffiti. It's just they scratched it into the pink paint. But behind the drywall are these old boxes of quick oats. This is the Ovid store. Before it was a saloon and a bakery, but a lady named Mabel Ovid purchased it in the town after it was all those other things. And it was a place that sold secondhand goods and some groceries. But unfortunately, she passed away in an accident where she was trying to open a gate and her car transmission failed and ran her over. These are the Bannock Jails. They're really tiny. It's just like maybe a couple of people can fit all in one. These were their bars that they just put on the wood. Not the most secure, but I guess this is where you would get your meals. And there's another set of bars up there for ventilation. And here is the schoolhouse, the only school in Bannock, and it also served as the Masonic Lodge. So it has that symbol on the top. That's an interesting contraption. I guess that's their small little playground, the only thing you can play with right in the front. Little bench. And this is school. You gotta go to school, Aiden. Get in there. Go do your homework or something. So this is a pretty big school. There's a lot of blackboards. How's that chair? Is it comfy? Looks very uncomfortable. Bunch of desks, really old school desks. The table is mounted to the front chair, and you have somebody behind you. And I guess they just wrote some stuff on there just to make it look like school is in session. Like I said in the other buildings, it's very cool in here. Nice view. It's so hot outside, but I guess it's nice to know that it's not steaming hot in here when school is in session in the beginning of the school year, where it's kind of hot in the fall. Whatever they make this out of keeps the temperature in here much cooler than it is outside. Probably wouldn't be good for winter though. Here's an old school blackboard too, with the letters and interesting animal figures on the side with their numbers. So it says this is the antique merry-go-round, the thing we saw in the beginning. Ooh, it makes that creepy noise. But it works. We're ill. This was Dr. Ryburn's house, the only doctor in town. That's all you get. So this is part of the first territorial governor of Montana, his mansion. But this is a shed behind it. There's a lot of people in the front, so I'm going to let them do their thing first. But we noticed these bones. That's kind of creepy. Looks like a back shed for the governor. But this is his house. Let me zoom out. It's got 2 chimneys. Very nice work on the sidings and nice shingles on the top of the roof. So this is the front of the mansion. It's got nice sidings, these sideboards on the windows, and nice trim on the top of the roof. See what a governor's mansion looks like back in the day. So yes, first governor of Montana when it was a territory before it became a state. And if you didn't know, Bannock was actually the first territorial capital of Montana. So this was the capital of the state. So all this wiring, so I guess they had electric then. But then as the mining and the gold and the minerals waned off, they moved the capital to Virginia City, and that no longer is also the capital. So yep, one last look at the first governor's mansion of Montana, where it used to be the state capital here in Bannock, but now it's in Helena. So that's pretty much all of Bannock State Park, this preserved ghost town. I really enjoyed it. I think if you're in the area, even in Bozeman, it's kind of like a 2-hour, can be a 3-hour drive, depends where you're at, but probably from Bozeman it's probably 2 hours. We came from Cameron, which is near Yellowstone, and that was a 2.5-hour drive, but it's pretty free-flowing, so it's not like there's traffic or anything. But yeah, I think it's pretty good deal. We're honest and just said that we weren't residents. If you're not a resident, it's $8 to enter, and it's by vehicle, so not by person. So $8 for me and my son, and then $2 extra if you want the booklet with the information. So we paid a total of $10. So here we are at the Bannock Cemetery. It's the more recent cemetery other than the one that we went up on the hill. It's out of the park, just a few short distances from the outside of the front gate, and then you come from the main road onto this little dirt road here. So we're going to check it out. Like I mentioned before, there's not many markers on that other cemetery to even look at. So these ones are more recent. It's got some markers where you can actually read stuff. So I guess there were a lot of Masons, because that school had that sign, and this guy has it too. This looks like a little child, and somebody left a car toy for him, but there's not sure if there's yeah, there's no name. And here's the Gray family. Seems like all their plots are together. And then there's these old wooden plots that are separated like fencing all throughout But these ones don't have any markers in it, so we don't even know who it is. Seems like all of those are the same. And some of them have just these little markers. Here's one of the bigger stones of Clarence Serrault. Looks like he was only 6 months and 3 days old, but he has a big stone. Lots of children in here.
That's big.
This is the bigger stone as well, one of the second biggest ones. Georgia Bassett. A lot of them lived a hard life and didn't really live too long. So that's pretty much our trip to Montana. This is our last full day. We're gonna head on over to our Holiday Inn in Belgrade, and tomorrow we fly out back home to Honolulu. So hopefully you enjoyed our trip as much as we did. We wanted to share what we did for the whole week and a half. I really enjoyed Montana. It was on my bucket list for a while, but I usually don't do domestic travel much anymore. I really like international travel, but because of COVID, I figure we might as well get this off my bucket list. And I definitely come back here again. There's so much stuff to do that we didn't even get to finish everything on our list. So there's definitely another time to come back. But hopefully you enjoyed this as much as we did, and we'll see you again in Hawaii for another food adventure. Peace out.